Hey guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. If you happen to tune in, glad you could make it. Hope everybody's having a good start of their new year and getting some resolutions or whatever you set for yourself, whatever goals you set for yourself. I hope you're getting them done, or at least on the way to getting them accomplished. Um, yeah, it's not gonna be a long live tonight, guys. Just gonna give a quick rundown on building materials, specifically lumber, right? Lumber prices, because I remember back a few years back, it was a big thing. Lumber prices shot through the roof, and we all know why. Um, the pandemic happened, and all kinds of stuff happened, right? It's like a chain reaction. So to look back and see how everything kind of tied into each other and how everything affected each other in terms of say the housing market and building materials, real estate prices, all that stuff is it's pretty interesting when you kind of do the research on it and see how they all tie in and affect each other, and not just those three industries, but pretty much everything, right? I mean, inflation and all of that stuff. So let's do a quick recap on what happened. Okay, for the last, I don't know, 3 years, 3 4 years, since 2020, right? The pandemic happened, right? So as a result of that, inflation happened, right? The cost of everything kind of shot through the roof due to the pandemic. Um, Supply chain issues, supply chain bottlenecks. They created shortages of raw materials and all that stuff. And it wasn't just domestically, like on this side, domestically, lumber mills, sawmills, logging operations, everything shut down. Okay. So all those materials are much harder to get. And so what happened was they tried to import materials as well, but it didn't work either because it was a global crisis. It was a global shutdown, worldwide crisis. So you couldn't get anything from overseas to supplement the shortages here. And so everybody it was pretty much a standstill, right? So as a result, the price of lumber shot through the roof. I think pre-pandemic prices were like $400 per what they call uh, um, per thousand board feet. That's how they measure wood, right? And that's the unit of measurement for those materials. And it shot up like four times, like to close to 1,500, 1,600 bucks, right? So a two by four, which usually costs like $3 back then, maybe even less in some parts of the country, shot up to like $12 for just a two by four, right? So um, the cost of housing prices, obviously, because of that, shot through the roof, and it was just a mess, right? It was just a mess. So um, it's not like that now, right? Prices have come down, not to pre-pandemic levels. I would say, due to the research I've done, lumber prices probably are around, or yeah, wood prices, um, maybe around $500, a little over $500 per thousand board feet. Right, so it's not quite where it was, but it's definitely not where uh, at the peak of the pandemic levels. So that's a good thing. Um, Another suggestion is if you're going to go out there, if you're a builder or something like that, and you're shopping for lumber, you might want to check out the independent lumber yards, right, versus the big box stores. You probably get a better discount there at the family owned lumber yards. But that depends. That depends on if you're looking for quality, you may find better quality in the big box stores. So um, don't take my word for it. Just shop around is all I'm saying. Okay, so yeah, so lumber prices are, I think, around like a two by four is probably like three. Like if you go on Home Depot, um, if you go there or something like that, some hardware store, it's back to like $3, maybe a little over $3 for a two by four. So yeah, it's definitely come down, but don't be surprised if it goes back up. Don't be surprised if it goes back up because the housing supply, from my understanding, um, is short. There's a shortage, right? There's a shortage. There's a labor shortage, and there's still a high demand for new construction. So don't be surprised if lumber prices start shooting back up again. No, it's not going to go back to $1,500 and all that stuff, but you know, it's probably going to stabilize as right where it is right now, and then as the economy stabilizes, as the housing market stabilizes, um, because then you'll probably see lumber prices go back up again because more people are going to want to get into new houses. Another reason why lumber prices went up is because a lot of people don't think about it is there was another housing crisis, not the 2008 one, but the 2021, right? Because what happened during the pandemic is a lot of people started thinking about leaving cities, right? Fleeing the cities and finding shelter in more wide open spaces, right? People didn't want to be close to each other. And so they start, people wanted to build in they moved to different states or maybe a less populated area of their state. And either they found a fixer upper or something like that, or they built new construction to get away from everybody else. And that demand for new construction and demand for, lumber, building materials to do, to renovate, that also caused the price of lumber to go up too during the pandemic, right? A lot of people think it's just, supply chain. No, it wasn't just supply chain. It was people trying to get out of Dodge and protect themselves and find shelter elsewhere, which drove the prices up as well. In the midst of, on top of that was the supply chain issues, right? You still had a shortage based on, supply chain bottlenecks, but you also had everybody wanted to leave and find different areas where it wasn't as populated, right? They didn't want to be close to anybody else. And so it was like a double whammy, right? So that's one of the reasons lumber prices shot through the roof too. So when you dive into the weeds and do the research on how everything went down, it's pretty it's kind of fascinating actually to see how everything kind of clicked to cause what happened. And so yeah, right now, like I said, lumber prices are down right now. So but this is actually a sweet spot, I think, because if you're a builder or if you're just a DIY person and you just want to do some renovations, kind of, grab it right now. Grab it right now. Grab your materials right now because they will go up again, right? Like I said, they're not going to go back up where they were, but they're going to go up again. So there are always like sweet spots in these situations that you gotta take advantage of, right? Or at least be on top of. So yeah, very interesting take on how things went down. So yeah, guys. So that's the deal. That's the deal with lumber prices right now. Like I said, I think they're still around the $3 range, $3 and change range, and I think probably in the Midwest or something, you probably find it a little even cheaper. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a builder in the Midwest, but yeah, you probably find a little cheaper. Like I said, at these mom and pops lumber outfits, lumber yards, you probably get better discounts there. So yeah, be wise on where you shop. Okay. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about tonight. Paragould Life Notes. Hey, how you doing, Paragould Life Notes? Fires affected the price. Yeah, that's a good point, Paragould Life Notes. Natural disasters like fires and stuff, they definitely have an effect on the inventory, right? Because if you got vast amounts of land or lumber or timber being burnt to a crisp, then your inventory is very much impacted, right? The lumberjacks don't have any trees to cut down. The fire did it for them, but they don't. So they don't have anything. So that does affect the price as well, right? So these are all unpredictable, unforeseen things, natural disasters, and you can put the pandemic in that one too. That was a natural. Well, some people may dispute that that was a unforeseen event. I would put it like that. And all these things that you can't necessarily predict affect prices. And it'll be interesting to see what the corporations learn from this whole situation and how they're preparing for it, especially the big timber companies, lumber companies, what they've learned from it, right? How are they going to prepare next time, right? Because a lot of people left. Another reason I didn't mention is that a lot of people, they left. They didn't want to work. They didn't want to work at the lumber yards, or they were let go and they never came back. So that also increased the prices as well. Perigo Life says storms in the south. Also, yeah, all that had an effect on the building materials, right? Building materials industries, and some of the major suppliers of building materials, like I think British Columbia, Canada, is a major supplier of like timber. They, you know, um, they themselves or companies like them, they don't always have things under control either, right? So, and they can say yay or nay, right? And so if they say, okay, there's a shortage, then countries like us, like the U.S., who depend on foreign entities to provide raw materials, are going to pay the price, right? And then of course the end consumer is going to, always is always going to end up paying more, right? Paying the most for these things. What is the percentage of imported timber? That's a good question. That's a very good question. While you asked that, Paragraph Life Notes, let me look that up for you. Um, and if somebody finds it, go ahead and put it in the chat. What is the percentage of imported timber? It says about 30%. And they all come from all over the world, actually. 48 foreign countries. Very interesting. Very interesting. Canada, Sweden, Finland, Germany, Austria, Czech Republic. These all seem like European countries. Russia, Norway, Estonia, Romania, Lithuania, Latvia, Argentina. Okay. Not all European. Argentina, South Africa, Switzerland, Ukraine. Huh. Wow. Ukraine. So that's another thing. Wars, right? When you have major conflicts in different countries, like what's happening in Ukraine right now, the Russia-Ukraine war. Anytime you're having those global crisis going on, as far as wars and stuff, that also affects the supply, right? Because it ain't nothing coming out of there, during those times. So it's kind of like when they had the big oil back in the 80s, they had the oil embargoes and all that stuff. The price of oil shot up, and it's the same thing with any kind of material that you depend on from a foreign country. So it'll be interesting how the Ukraine, how much. I guess we don't get much from the Ukraine, because otherwise the price of lumber probably wouldn't be back to $3, right? Probably still. So Ukraine is probably a very small amount of lumber from there. Matter of fact, while we're at it, and I kind of like this back and forth. Good question, Perigo Life Notes. Perigo Life Notes says Canada has wildfires. Yeah. There's a lot of timber there in Canada. It's a pretty green place, right? Just kind of curious as to how much timber comes from Ukraine. Okay. How much do we import from there? Timber does the U.S. import from the Ukraine? Or even Russia, right? All right. It didn't give me a straight answer. You know what? I'm not going to scroll through all this just to find the answer to that. but I would assume it's not that much. Either 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 that or we have so much here in the States or from other foreign countries that it makes whatever effect that Ukraine would have on our lumber prices negligible, right? Not that much. So, um, but nonetheless, we do depend on a lot of foreign countries for a lot of things. I think that's for a lot of things. I don't know, ever since we just exported manufacturing, you know, um, we see what happened, right? We see everybody pays the price for that. Uh, yeah. So, yeah, guys, just wanted to kind of touch on that, right? Don't get your hopes up because the price of lumber went down. If you're a builder or anybody like that, um, just be on the lookout. Keep your eyes open, right? Because they're going to go back up again, and you got to be prepared. So you might want to take advantage of this opportunity right now to grab if you got a place to store the stuff, and depends on what you want to do with that. Um, take advantage of the sweet spot when the time, so you can get the bang for your buck, when it comes to whatever building materials. It doesn't just have to be lumber; it could be whatever else. Um, see if it's going to go up in the future, as opposed to where it was before, and that's all you can really do, right? I mean, you can't really, unless you're a fortune teller, you can't really foretell where all prices of this or that is going to happen, right? You can't foretell what's going to happen. So, but what you can do is look at what's going on right now and see where you stand at the moment and see where the prices stand at the moment, as opposed to what could be, reasonably predicted in the future, and then make your moves from there, right? You don't necessarily, there's a time to buy and there's a time not to buy, right? So, um, but if you're in such an unpredictable industry, like the building industry, the housing market, as we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, then you really have to be on top of things as far as the moves you make financially, because that could make or break you. A lot of companies, builders, and stuff went out of business because of all this stuff, right? But I'm sure there are those that have survived because they were savvy, right? They studied the market just like some people study the weather, and they could kind of predict you know what the best move would have been. And some of them, I'm sure, made some pretty good moves, and they're still thriving today. I know in some states, some builders are thriving, right? They're thriving, and that's a good thing. But it all they can't build without building materials, and so they're on top of all that. And another thing too, they know how to keep their workers happy, right? Uh, I've been spouting this for the last, I don't know, ever since I've been on this live about labor shortages and stuff. So, what are you doing as a company to keep your workers happy, right? Are you giving them incentives to stay with you, even when things seem tough, even when things seem slow? And a lot of those incentives that you can give your workers depend on the economic decisions that you make, right? So if you don't have, I'm not saying you're going to pay somebody to sit home, but if you can, kind of give them something to keep them around. Maybe they won't leave, right? Maybe they won't leave. I've seen videos online of builders complaining, "Oh, there's no workers and this and that," and then they point the finger at you know, the workers that work for lower wages and stuff like that, and it turns into something ugly, right? So, um, yeah, everything's connected. Everything connected. So, just just be wise and be vigilant, right? And don't let this stuff hit you or blindside you. If you study the trends, if you study the market, you study what's going on, you should be more well informed. You should be able to make a better informed decision about the money you spend as a company, or even as somebody just like who has a DIY, or somebody who just wants to get the best bang for their buck as well, right? So anyway, guys, that's it for the live. I didn't come on here to talk too long tonight. Just want to drop that. It's pretty interesting to study and see how all this stuff connects, right? And hope you got something out of this. and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.